peeling off part of my sole. All right, so elbow pain. What's happening? There could be a lot of different things going on in the body, of course, but we're going to go through one of the most common ones, and it comes down to how you're training your biceps and what exercises are you choosing to train your biceps with. Alright, so when we are dealing with elbow pain, there are of course a few different things that could be going on, but we're going to start looking at one of the most common ones that I come across. And it's experienced a lot when people are training arms in general, but we're going to focus today on biceps. Before we get there, and before we get to some of the most problematic exercises out there that people are doing that are screwing up their elbows, we need to understand one very, very basic thing with human anatomy and biomechanics. And it's something called the carrying angle. So if I just stand here with my arms turned out, what you'll notice is my upper arm and my lower arm aren't perfectly aligned in a straight line. There's actually a slight deviation outwards where my wrist bone or my forearm kinks out towards my thumb. This is seen in all people to varying degrees, and it's done that way, like your body was designed in that way so that when you walk in a natural gait cycle, your arms don't end up smashing into your hips. So what this really means is your arms aren't meant to travel on straight train tracks, with the elbows tucked into your sides and arms and forearms traveling parallel with one another. And this is where we start to encounter some of the common issues with unnecessary wear and tear accumulating through the elbow joint, particularly when we're choosing a lot of fixed bar exercises such as a barbell curl. So let me show you what I mean with this. When I'm curling up with a straight bar, it's actually probably, I don't even remember when I last did a straight bar elbow curl, biceps curl, although it is more training the elbows than training the biceps, is you try to tuck your elbows in and curl straight up, keeping your forearms as close to parallel as possible and your elbows jammed into your sides. Now, this is honestly not causing me any pain or discomfort at all. I am feeling my biceps. It's not a terrible exercise, but it's more about, are there better options out there, and what's happening from a biomechanical standpoint, and could any of the downsides easily be avoided? And I would say yes, because I'm trying to force my hands and my wrists and my elbows into this parallel fixed plane of movements. Whereas my arms, because of my natural carrying angle, they want to be more out in this position on a slight angle. And if you were to do that, you can see here with my hands, because of having a straight bar, my hands can't kink like that. My hands are fixed like this, which pulls the elbows out, but I try to jam the elbows in, thinking that's more correct. And that's where we start to create a lot more of these shearing forces traveling through the elbow. Now, next question is, Eugene, what is shear? Let's have a little look at this bad boy over here to explain to you guys some of the forces that are occurring at your joints as you're going through movements. So your elbow is what we call a hinge joint, and it works, as the name suggests, very much like a hinge, like this hinge right here. So designed to open and close, extend and flex, or open and close. This would be what you would see in a typical door as well. So if I just open and close that door, you can see there's not a lot of wear and tear happening. There is over time going to be a slight deterioration to the joint just through the aging process, of course, but for all intents and purposes, it's going to be completely fine. Now, what if, as I opened and closed that hinge, or opened and closed that door, at the same time as I was doing that, what if I was pushing down on the hinge as I did this? What if I was pushing up on the hinge as I did this? It's still going to open and close, it's still going to move just fine, but you can very easily understand the fact there's going to be a lot more forces going through this structure that will contribute more to this wear and tear. And in this context, I'd say it's completely avoidable and it's completely unnecessary if you have to go through this kind of wear and tear. Because wear and tear here translates to wear and tear here, which would be through your tendons, it'd be through your connective tissues, it'd be through things like cartilage. And when they start to accumulate over time, your body can't recover from them, that's where we start to get all these issues with maybe elbow pain. And it comes back to saying, what are some of the most common exercises that we're doing? We're doing a lot of straight bar exercises, especially for arms. So I'll start to toss them away completely, because the more we try to fix our body into this one fixed plane that's unnatural for it, that's where you're gonna compromise your joint integrity. A couple of different options available are, of course, you're gonna come across EZ bars like this, which allow you to now put your elbows into a slightly more natural position, and that's why it is a lot more comfortable. But even then, EZ bars may not be perfectly angled for you and your structure. It is a little bit of a better option than a straight bar. That's where you also have cambered bars that fit onto different cable attachments, but you have to understand every single person has got very different carrying angles. In general, women, because they have a narrower shoulder structure and a slightly wider hip structure, they tend to have much bigger carrying angles. But even within women and within males, you'll see big differences. And you'll see big differences in their overall mobility, which would then dictate whether the EZ bar is a really good fit for them or not. And even then it could be that maybe my EZ bar is great for you, but another brand's EZ bar is complete garbage. So I would say that the best option out there when it comes to training arms, if you're experiencing elbow pain or if you want to avoid any unnecessary wear and tear over time, is to start to look more at unilateral exercises or using implements that allow for more freedom at the elbows and the wrists. So instead of doing barbells, we just do dumbbells instead. Instead of doing barbells, we might do single cables as well. And then it's also about choosing the dumbbells, choosing the cables, choosing the unilateral exercises, but also setting them up in a way that allows for a more natural movement. So I'm going to show you guys a cable setup that I love to use, and I'm going to show you guys the little tips that I use to make sure it's set up properly to be accounting for this carrying angle. So come over here to the cable stack. So we've got a typical cable station here, and if we're looking back at this carrying angle, what this means is when I'm looking at bringing my elbows into this flexion position, my arms actually don't want to travel straight up by my sides like this. They want to travel in a more natural plane across my body in this converging plane. So what this means for us when we're setting up exercises in terms of the cable width, we shouldn't be setting them up so your arms are traveling on train tracks, but we should have the cable slightly wider and pulling on a converging axis, which is why I've got it set up the way that I do right here. So, what you'll notice from the front here is the cables are starting wide, my hands start wide, and as I curl in, they're coming in closer towards my body. Based on your mobility, based on your structure, based on how your body's put together, would then dictate how wide or how narrow your elbows have to be most comfortable, and that would then dictate how wide or how narrow you set the cables up. And if you didn't have this cable set up that was completely adjustable like I do, you could of course just do the single arm. So this could be in a single station, either sitting down like this, or it could also be standing up, and you just simply reposition your body so you're no longer just curling straight up to your sides here, but you're actually slightly angled, so it creates this cross-body converging plane of movement. And this is probably the simplest way to go about training your biceps. I love to use the cables, although this could also be done with dumbbells instead, but the reason why I like the cables is it provides a very, very even resistance profile, whereas challenging my biceps through the entire contractile range. So, with that in mind, I really don't see much of a reason why people should be doing any barbell curling, even with an EZ bar, when there are things like cables and dumbbells readily available. Even if you don't have the adjustable stations like this, you can do this single arm. The only maybe argument you could make is for convenience, because then you get to do two arms at once instead of doing just one arm if you don't have the single cable station. But other than that, if you want to preserve your joints, if you want to build your muscles as easily as possible and help to maybe reduce a lot of the pain you might be experiencing, it's a very, very simple switch. Switch from barbells to dumbbells and take into consideration this converging plane of movement and having to reposition your body if you're using, say, dumbbells to allow for a more natural plane of movement that you're not forcing your body into. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this video and learned something useful about elbows and biceps and what to do if you're currently experiencing pain, or what you should be doing with your training to help to avoid accruing unnecessary wear and tear to your joints. If you found this video helpful and useful and interesting, please do smash that like button, give it a good old thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe to the channel because we've got a lot of cool stuff coming out for you guys real soon, and we'll see you guys next time. Whoa. Yuck. You hear that? That is from years of straight bar curling and trying to keep my elbows in tight. Don't do that, guys. Yuck.